When people with ADHD are medicated, do they become just as functional as a regular person or extra functional to compensate for time not on Adderall? Even medicated, I'm barely functional. But then sometimes I hyper-focus for 17 hours straight on a random personal project that benefits nobody. Stimulant medication doesn't cure ADHD. It only helps you manage the symptoms. It doesn't make me smarter or anything. It generally quiets my brain down to let me focus on the task at hand. I can still end up focusing on the wrong things. There's also some days where I take my meds and I'm still all over the place. Another commenter had a real scientific answer, which is rad, but I wanted to give a personal analogy. ADHD is like having a small gremlin wrapped around your ankle constantly demanding dopamine. It's nearly impossible to accomplish anything because the gremlin will just get louder and more annoying until it gets its dopamine. Want to buckle down and study for your test? The gremlin will refuse to let you go study because studying doesn't create dopamine. But playing video games and eating junk food? That creates tons of dopamine. That's what the gremlin wants, all the time. ADHD medication is like giving the gremlin and Roman 4 drip of steady dopamine. ADHD medication doesn't magically make you more productive or super smart, it just shuts up the dopamine gremlin, so that you can more easily do the tasks that aren't immediately rewarding. The first week or so with it feels like you're extra functional, but that wears off very quickly. After the first month it sort of just makes you normal level functioning, at least for me. I still have issues with motivation, feeling overwhelmed sometimes, procrastinating, but I think it's to a normal degree. I'm able to drudge through the stuff I don't want to do if I try, whereas unmedicated it wasn't possible. I also can do this stuff I enjoy at a reasonable rate. Before it was very all or nothing. It was like, will I paint for 18 hours straight or will I struggle to even begin painting? My brain is like 160 hamsters in hamster wheels that never stop running, and they all need to be cared for to stay alive. But I have absolutely no ability to discern which ones need my attention first or which ones are mostly fine on their own, and which ones need attention right now. There's just so many hamsters going at full speed in their wheels I don't even know which way to look and can get lost ping-ponging between all of them, or maybe one seems extra fun today. So I have the urge to focus on it, but it's not the one that I should be focusing on because there's one that is literally on fire and somehow I didn't even notice because of the 159 other hamsters. Taking Adderall makes it more like there are 10 or 20 hamsters instead of 160. With 10 or 20 hamsters, it's much easier to tell which ones need tending to first or are better to spend time with later, because they are just so playful and entertaining, and spending time on them now would be too engaging and interfere with making sure the needs of the other hamsters are met. It's still easy to get distracted by the engaging, but not necessary to deal with hamsters. But when there are only 10-20 of them vs the full 160, it's a lot easier to ensure that all of them are generally taken care of. Some medications help you focus, but then the patient still needs to work on controlling what to focus on. It's one tool and not a cure-all. Neither? I able to function sometimes? It's just quieter and I remember stuff better. Just functional in that it helps control the symptoms. Sometimes I'm more efficient than a regular person because the task plays well with my brain, sometimes still less because it's not a cure for the deeper effect hacks, memory issues, but a management for the executive dysfunction. It's not retroactive. There's no compensating for what happened before medication or the days you don't take it. None of the above. Well, not everyone with ADHD takes Adderall for their medication. I take Wellbutrin, which isn't a stimulant, and it just brings me to a baseline of normal. For me, nothing like that. No to both. It kind of just calms down your mind a bit, so I'm a little less useless. I'm going to say this again. ADHD meds do not give us superpowers, nor does it make us function at the same level as a neurotypical person. Meds only help bump your focus a little bit. You still need to put in 3x the effort a regular person does to achieve similar productivity. Still worse than normal, but a little better than my normal. ADHD meds are fucking expensive on the min wage for my country, so I can't afford the dosage I actually need, so my answer is I am barely functional even with my meds. But when I don't take them, I can barely get out of bed. 34-year-old recently diagnosed as ADHD combined. Having recently gone from no medication to being prescribed Adderall and working through CBT, I can tell you that I still have some issues with keeping my focus on tasks and things around me, but it is immensely better than before. I was struggling so badly with the anxiety that was coming from not finishing forgetting tasks that I was at the point of planning out my suicide when I made a choice to ask for help. Normal cognitive function to me is like Bradley Cooper's character in Limitless, and while I'm not there, I am functioning much better and able to get through my job and day with a lot less stress and anxiety. I hope this can help put things into perspective. Adderall made me functional, organized, focused, etc. as a regular person, maybe a little more. I have since grown a tolerance for it, but at first it was great and it helped me achieve all that I have. Neither. Medication is not a cure. We're still less functional than everyone else. It's just not as bad as it would be without the meds. Meds are like glasses, they help, but don't cure the underlying issue. ADHD doesn't make you less functional. It's memory problems and rapid firing of neurons. You should see my brain scans. Medications chemically bring the brain activity down to a point where it isn't rapidly performing internal activities. From experience, you'll say it feels like being lobotomized and that you don't quite realize it, but you're thinking slower and able to sit still. Because you're essentially mentally inhibited because your brain without medications is so active it's overloaded and prevents you from performing executive functions.